The crossbow is a rare artifact that generates its own ammunition. Suddenly, the weapon disappears, and the blonde explains that soul-bound artifacts can be stored. Our protagonist thanks him for the healing and says he now needs to find Reiji Kinoshita. Upon hearing the name, the blonde young man is surprised and says that facing the guy takes a lot of courage. But he reveals that if it's Reiji, then they have the same target, and our hero questions the reason. Iberia invites him to form a team for the Saviors National Tournament preliminaries. He explains that the preliminaries are by continent, and the northern venue is in District 4. Being the chief's son, Reiji wants to go to the main event so as not to embarrass his family. That's why he's monopolizing all the stages to level up faster. Our hero asks why him, and the blonde says his gut tells him that together they'll pass. Iberia explains that since he was a child, he watched his father create artifacts and always admired him greatly. Each finished piece was a work of art, and his respect for his old man only grew. Because of this, he always dreamed of becoming an awakened to fight against the disaster beasts. But when he finally awakened and asked for an artifact, his father said it was too soon for him. After much begging, his father agreed to give him one if he passed the tournament preliminaries. Thus, he says with a determined look that he needs to pass the preliminaries no matter what. Our protagonist questions why he didn't team up with a high-level player since he has a famous father. The blonde young man reveals that his old man warned him to pass on his own merit and without using his name. Furthermore, his intelligence revealed that the strongest have already been bought by Reiji Kinoshita. But upon learning that someone beat Takeru and broke a record, he investigated and tracked him down. Itsuki agrees to the partnership but says he'll first take Agia to the hospital, and the blonde stops him. The blonde young man suggests names for the duo, and our protagonist thinks he talks more than Riku. As he thinks about his friends, he wonders if Riku and Sayo will also go to the preliminaries. Far away, Riku appears, preparing for the preliminaries with some heavy training. Sayo asks him if he's caught a cold, and the young man says maybe Itsuki is talking about him. Sayo wonders how long it's been since the attack and if our hero is okay since they haven't seen him. Riku calls her weird and asks why she didn't visit him if she was so worried, making her blush. With that, the girl gets furious and launches a water attack at her friend, who gets startled. He complains about the cheap shot, but she says it's his fault for leaving an opening in the middle of training. Suddenly, a muscular man appears and tells them both to stop messing around, because the preliminaries are starting. Meanwhile, Reiji Kinoshita observes 3 creation stones inside a silver briefcase. He wonders where his henchman is, as he's late, and thinks something unexpected must have happened. Angrily, the rich kid crushes one of the stones and calls it useless junk as he gains experience points. Reiji says to forget the guy and focus on the preliminaries because if he fails, his father will send him to solitary. Sayo gets excited to fight other awakened, and her water elementalist status is revealed. A henchman informs Reiji that they've secured the help of 887 awakened. The rich kid praises him and says he's the only reliable guy he has by his side at the moment. From there, he uses the last creation stone and finally manages to level up with the experience. With his body covered in lightning, his new level 12 and his stats are revealed for the battle. Far away, our protagonist appears with a blue aura and a determined look for whatever comes. In a hospital room, our protagonist apologizes to the commander for Age's situation. Mendo Izumi asks what they should do and offers to get rid of the rich kid once and for all. But Itsuki stops him immediately and says with a serious look that he'll handle it himself. Faced with the situation, the commander agrees to the request and tells him to fill him in on the details later. Iberia is shocked to learn he's the young man's master and immediately wants to ask for an autograph. Our hero then announces he's going to the preliminaries with Iberia and asks how Ajahao is doing. The woman says she's fine thanks to her jade butterfly and the blonde young man's rare artifact. Mendo Izumi recognizes the item and deduces that Iberia is the son of the famous artisan Aiden. The blonde gets startled that the commander knows about his father, and decides he needs to act with dignity. With a smug smile, he fumbles his words and says he's Aiden's father instead of his son. Everyone is left speechless, and the commander corrects him, saying it's the other way around. Completely embarrassed, the blonde young man corrects himself and says that Aiden is actually his father. Mendo Izumi thanks him for saving his daughter, and says he'll visit his father after the tournament. From there, he tells the two to get ready and informs them that he and Ageho will be watching tomorrow. With a confident look, the new duo agrees and guarantees they will pass the preliminaries. Agia comments that her father really likes Itsuki, as he always used to take her to his meetings. Mendo Izumi explains that because of his childhood trauma, our hero has a strong self-destructive impulse. But this impulse lessens significantly when there's someone nearby he wants to protect. Because of this, he reveals that it was for this reason he placed his daughter by the young man's side. Her mission was to become his friend, and the person he would most want to protect in the world. Right after, the commander reveals that the attack on the school was not an accident but something planned. He says the number of traitors on the beast's side is increasing and humanity's future is bleak. But with a confident look, he states that our protagonist will surely brighten that future. He then says that the boy will become the great beacon of hope for all of humanity. The scene then shifts to the location of the tournament preliminaries in the Northern District 4. Our hero and Iberia arrive and see that the number of participants has jumped from 3,000 to 5,000. Faced with the situation, Reiji gets annoyed with the news and says that old man increased the variables. Seo and Riku notice that the rich kid's allies are wearing red ribbons to identify themselves. Suddenly, a man named Soryu Fujiwara appears to explain the rules of the preliminaries. He explains that the arena is divided into 2 areas, and everyone will start at a different point. From there, the announcer explains that the first phase is a race to the inner area of the arena. As soon as someone arrives there, their rank is recorded, and only the top 500 advance to the next phase. The man says that each person can carry 2 tools, and Iberia gets our hero's attention. Riku notices the function of the bracelet, and Sayo comments that eliminating thousands right off the bat is brutal. Faced with the situation, Reiji Kinoshita appears with his henchmen and orders no one to run ahead of him. Iberia recognizes the guys he bought and already plans a surprise attack for when he lowers his guard. But our protagonist walks straight towards them, and the henchmen notice he doesn't have the red ribbon. With that, Iberia is completely shocked by his new partner's impulsive attitude. The announcer then gives the signal, and the first phase of the tournament finally begins with everyone running. Soryu comments that it's good to see so many young people wanting to join the alliance, but that numbers aren't everything. A man named Shu Haitan says that in the past, there were several participants above level 15. The announcer remembers that in his year, there were only 2 competitors, and Jin Taiwa was one of them. Shu then says it gets boring without a rookie like Taiwajin and hopes there's a genius in the crowd. The announcer comments that geniuses like that only appear once every 100 years, but Shu heard a rumor about a student. Commander Mendu Izumi, who was listening to the conversation, finally confirms that the rumor is true. Shu Haitan gets excited and asks if the student is there, as he must have extraordinary talent. With that, Soryu starts looking through the participants' data to see if he can find the genius. He sees Riku but dismisses him immediately because his gift is only grade 2 and quite mediocre. Soon after, he passes by Sayo but doesn't think it's her either, as she's a support type. From there, he finds a girl named Hana who has a level of 16, which is very abnormal for a rookie. Soryu thinks he's found the student, but Mendu Izumi doesn't seem to agree with his conclusion. Shu Haitan then asks if there are any level 0 participants and says there's always a curious one. Back in the arena, Reiji and his henchmen start laughing at our protagonist and call him a lost boy. Unfazed, our hero activates one of his artifacts and faces the rich kid with his eyes glowing. Reiji is surprised by the young man's attitude, and with a sinister smile, asks who the heck he is. Our protagonist stares him down with a cold look and says the rich kid was looking for him. The rich kid can't believe a level 0 piece of trash beat Oga and thinks someone sent him to provoke him. Furious, he orders his henchmen to grab the young man, and they say they'll make him regret it. Reiji covers himself in lightning and shouts that he has no time to waste on a small fry like our hero. From there, the rich kid's henchmen surround the two and prepare for the upcoming fight. One of the henchmen scoffs at them and says they can beg for their lives if they want to be spared. Iberia knows he can take down one, but it's impossible for our hero to fight against 4. Faced with the situation, he prepares to use one of his artifacts, but our hero stops him. The henchman in front scoffs, saying the first enemy they encounter is a level 0 piece of trash. Without wasting time, our protagonist faces him and, with a serious look, tells the guy to get out of his way. The henchman is shocked by the young man's audacity and can't believe what he just heard. Soon after, he starts laughing like a madman, and all his companions follow suit. The man who was defeated by Itsuki before likes his personality and says he'll save him if needed. The henchman in front then says, with a sinister smile, that he's going to crack his head open to see what's inside. But before he can do anything, our protagonist lands a devastating punch right in the middle of his face. With the enemy on the ground, our hero repeats with a cold look that he told him to get out of his way. The other henchman is shocked because our protagonist just knocked out a guy 7 levels above him. The guys panic, not understanding what happened, but one of them says it was just a lucky shot. Furious, the masked man uses a B-rank skill called Flamethrower to attack. Iberia is terrified by the speed of the attack and realizes there's no time to use his artifact. The henchman comments that it's an overkill, but he got himself in trouble for acting tough as a level 0. But one of his companions realizes something is very wrong with the situation. Faced with the situation, our protagonist emerges from the flames, protected by his black ice wall. Iberia is impressed and can't believe he withstood such a massive fire explosion. With a cold look, our hero tells his new partner to step back so he doesn't get in the way of the fight. The screen reveals that he blocked a B-rank fire skill, and his defense increased by 10%. With this, he wants to test if the passive of his black ice wall activates when blocking the same skill twice. The masked henchman is shocked because there's no water elementalist there and wonders how he's using ice. Our protagonist challenges him to attack again and says that this time he won't even defend himself. The man thinks he's bluffing but accepts the challenge, and the young man confirms the promise with a cute face. He then prepares to end it all and unleashes his strongest fire ability, but our hero stands still and thinks that even with the increased power, it's still a fire skill. His friends think he's joking around and say that with this power, he rivals a level 8. The masked henchman has spent all his mana and says it's a waste on a level 0, but the game is over. Soon after, he is completely shocked and shouts that it's simply impossible. Our protagonist understands that the passive of his black ice wall doesn't stack with the same skill. With the test complete, he faces the other henchman and says it's time to end this foolishness. The brute thinks the ice skill is strong, but says he's already found the young man's weakness. From there, he unleashes his B-rank skill called Flame Barrage with everything he's got. But our hero questions if they want to win with numbers and activates his black ice wall. With that, a large fire explosion occurs as the fireballs clash with the defense. The henchman thinks a level 0's mana is nothing and plans to drain it to win the fight. Suddenly, the brute is shocked to see our hero right in front of him after the smoke clears. He closed the distance in an instant and noted that the passive only activated once with the fireballs. The henchman then says that if the young man's advantage is speed, his is brute force. Our protagonist then asks with a mocking look if he's even using any force. With that, he says he'll end the guy's suffering and throws him far away with a single blow. The screen reveals that his defense only increased by 3 points, and he understands the calculation is based on base defense. Seeing the other two, he realizes they are lightning elementalists and will use them to level up his skill. With a cold look, our hero asks if they really think they can escape him. The two henchmen launch their silver serpent skill, and one of them shouts that he'll take the young man with him. The screen shows that he absorbed both skills, and his agility increased by 10% in total. With both of them on the ground, our hero wonders who this guy is who defeats everyone so easily. He understands that the Thunder Wave's passive works the same as the Ice one and only increases once per target. Iberia observes the guys on the ground and comments that our protagonist knocked them all out. With a smile, he says he thought the fight would be tough and didn't imagine Itsuki was so strong. The first henchman asks who he is, because he's definitely not a level 0, and Iberia wants to know about the skill. Iberia approaches with a sinister smile and asks, "We?" leaving the young man confused by the question. With that, the blonde declares that together they are the Double I duo and will be the strongest in the north. Our hero ignores him and drags him away, saying they need to go after Kinoshita, and the blonde complains. The henchman, who is still conscious, is confused by the duo's name and thinks it's pretty lame. Far away, a guy with glasses notices the commotion and thinks the so-called level 0 must be done for by now. But he recognizes the beast that belonged to Charles and decides he'll need to investigate that later. He thinks that outside the Alliance, there aren't many people in the north capable of capturing Charles. Another participant overtakes someone and brags about his speed, unlike the brutes. Suddenly, the runner is hit by a purple lightning bolt and screams in pain from the surprise attack. Lying on the ground, he wonders who the heck hit him while he was running at full speed. The guy with glasses then steps on his head with a look of contempt and stares down at him. With his body covered in purple lightning, he says that's what you get for running in front of him. Soon after, he tells his group to save their energy and not let trash like him waste their time. Far away, a woman comments on the arrogance of the District 4 administrator's son. But since it's not against the rules, they can't do anything, and the rich kid brags about his stamina. With the others clearing the way, he thinks he can easily pass the second phase of the tournament. The scene then shifts to the crowd that has already arrived in the inner area and is waiting for the next challenge. Reiji Kinoshita arrives in the inner area and brags about how easy it was to get there first. Suddenly, a mysterious voice shouts his name, and a blue lightning bolt cuts through the sky towards him. The rich kid turns around, startled by the call, and is shocked by what he's seeing. His henchmen panic, and one of them recognizes the approaching level 0 rookie. In the rain, our protagonist and Iberia appear, and the henchman can't believe it's really him. Reiji is shocked, because he didn't expect the two of them alone could defeat his entire group. With a mocking smile, he says his men must have been bribed to let them pass. Iberia thinks he only made it there because of the young man, as he defeated all the enemies. The rich kid says he's busy and will leave someone to entertain them while he moves on. With a furious look, he orders his remaining henchmen to grab the two and finish them off. One of the men scoffs at our hero, and says he'll teach him some manners the hard way. Iberia is terrified to see there are at least 100 enemies and doesn't know what to do. But our protagonist calms him down and asks with a serious look for him to just cover his ears. From there, he releases a lightning shockwave that hits all the surrounding henchmen. The rich kid just watches the scene with a disdainful look, not worried about his men. With the jump, the shockwave sends all the henchmen flying, clearing the path. Iberia is shocked by his new partner's power, and Reiji can't believe what he's seeing. Our hero then says it seems his last words weren't very clear to the rich kid. With a cold and determined look, he faces the enemy and vows that he won't let him go anywhere. Far away, Sayo and Riku arrive and comment on the red-ribboned guys who blocked them. Riku is shocked because even though they're fast, he can't believe there are people faster than them. A man named Gaohuo comes in third place and complains about his ranking. A girl named Hanahanyu is in first place, and she's the level 16 rookie. Riku thinks our hero is alone and could be attacked by a group at any moment. Suddenly, Sayo notices someone flew into the inner area and is shocked by the scene. The system confirms that Iberia has arrived in the inner area and is ranked 6th. Lying on the ground, the blonde young man shouts our protagonist's name and tells him to hurry up. Riku and Sayo hear their friend's name and are surprised to recognize him in the middle of it all. With blue lightning surrounding him, our hero faces the crowd, and there's no doubt it's him. With a cold look, he repeats that he won't let the rich kid go anywhere until they settle things. The older man wonders why the rookie is so obsessed with Reiji Kinoshita. With that, Mendo Izumi asks Shoheitan to help his student if the situation gets too complicated. Shoheitan is impressed by the young man's speed and wonders if he could move like that in his youth. Faced with the situation, Reiji gets annoyed and tells our hero to prepare for what's coming. With a wicked smile, he says it's not a battle but an execution, with everyone against one. In other words, it's a 100 versus 1 massacre, and the scene shows the crowd staring him down. Our protagonist is focused because, for him, passing the preliminaries is secondary. His priority is avenging Eicha. Faced with the situation, Reiji goes crazy with rage and shouts for all his henchmen to finish the young man off at once. With that, the crowd of henchmen charges at once towards our hero, who is completely alone. One of the masked guys shouts that our protagonist's head is his and launches a full-power fire punch. But Itsuki stops the blow with one hand, leaving the enemy completely shocked by the scene. Without wasting time, he retaliates with a powerful punch right in the middle of the masked man's face, who doesn't even have time to react. The impact is so strong that the henchman is sent flying by the absurd force of the blow he received. The other henchmen are in shock, and one of them says not to panic because they have the numbers on their side. Our hero faces them and tells them to bring it on, as the screen shows his defense has increased by 10%. He says it's time to end this foolishness and activates his Lotus Burst with all his might. From there, a gigantic fire explosion spreads throughout the arena, hitting all the enemies around. Iberia, Riku, and Sayo watch in shock, and the blonde wonders if that's Itsuki's ability. Elsewhere, a muscular guy and a cat girl comment on the absurd explosion that just happened. The green-haired girl also observes the scene with her sword and a thoughtful look on the situation. The announcer is shocked by the power and wonders how he can use skills outside his class. Eijiha and Shoheitan watch from afar, and she finally understands where his confidence in the stage came from. Amidst the dust, our protagonist thinks he only used 30% of his power because they are human. The scene reveals all the rich kid's henchmen lying on the ground while the young man stands in the middle of the chaos. With his eyes glowing blue, he faces the enemy and says that now it's just the two of them. Reiji is terrified and can't believe he defeated 100 people at once and asks why he's chasing him. Our hero explains that the rich kid attacked him first and hurt his friend, and that he'll make him pay dearly. Angrily, Reiji brags about being the heir of the Kinoshitas and says he levels up easily with his karma stones. He shouts that they're on different levels and launches his B-rank Violet Thunder Cannon at him. His system detects the enemy's skill, and Overmimesis is activated, starting the analysis of the attack immediately. But our hero dodges the lightning cannon with absurd speed, surprising his opponent. Lying on the ground, the rich kid can't believe he dodged and understands he has no chance of winning the fight. In a panic, he screams desperately and calls for help from someone named 40 to save him. A man with red eyes appears and thinks it's against the rules, but he no longer cares about appearances. Reiji smiles and reveals that the guy is a level 35 awakened and orders him to finish our hero off. From above, Shoheitan calls for someone named Heitan and gives him a thumbs up to take action. With his mana sense, our protagonist notices someone approaching at high speed as the analysis continues. He realizes it's not just one person, and a brute comes flying towards him. The man lands with a thud, kicking up a cloud of dust, but our hero isn't fazed by his arrival. With a calm look, he just watches the situation unfold in front of him without showing any fear. Shoheitan appears and takes down the called 40 with a single blow, telling the young man to continue what he started. With purple lightning around him, our hero turns to the rich kid and says his life has just been cut short. Desperate, Reiji tries to use his family's name to threaten our protagonist and try to save himself. But the young man doesn't care and attacks without mercy, making the rich kid scream in pain and fall to the ground. Looking at the fallen body, he says with a cold look that it was for everything he did to Eijiha. From afar, the blue-haired woman watches the scene and blushes completely at the young man's actions. Her father comments that he defeated Reiji and wonders why he's looking in their direction now. The skill analysis reaches 99%, and he pauses it to reset his stamina later. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouts our protagonist's name, drawing his attention away. With a surprised expression, he recognizes the voice immediately and turns to see who it is. From there, the scene reveals it was Sayo and Rikyu, who have finally arrived to find their friend. With a smile, Sayo tells them to come inside quickly because it's raining heavily outside. With tears in her eyes, she worries that he might catch a cold from all the rain. Our protagonist says it's been a while, and the system announces that he's ranked 7th in the arena. Suddenly, Riku and Iberia hug him, crying, and say they missed him and are happy he's okay. Riku glares at the blonde with lightning in his eyes and asks who he is to be clinging to Itsuki like that. With a confident pose, Iberia introduces himself as our hero's partner, leaving everyone surprised. Riku immediately calls him a traitor, and Sayo comments that it's rare for our protagonist to make friends like that. Iberia asks if they had a duo name, and Riku says he's not a child to think of names like that. Riku says of course they have a name, and Iberia, with a smile, challenges him to say what it is. Our hero tries to stop him, but the blonde shouts that the duo's name is Double I, and that it was hard to come up with. Riku starts laughing and says the name is lame, leaving Iberia furious with his teasing. The announcer declares that 500 have arrived, and the others have been eliminated, and that the second phase will begin. He explains that in the second phase, they will fight beasts alone for 1 hour inside the arena. Iberia is scared by the part about fighting alone, while the others just watch the situation in silence. From above, Shoheitan gets excited and says he can't wait to see what the rookies are capable of. The screen reveals the rankings of the first phase, with Hano in first, Shien in second, and Gaku in third place. With that, everyone observes the gigantic arena, where the second phase of the tournament will finally take place. The group joins the crowd, and Iberia asks if this is really where the next stage will happen. Riku comments that the place is dark and asks his friend if his level is really fixed at 0, and he confirms. He then questions how the young man gets stronger, and Iberia is also curious, but Sayo scolds him immediately. She reminds him that the skills of order breakers are a secret and tells her friend not to worry about them. From above, the tournament organizers observe the participants and prepare to make the big announcement. Iberia is completely shocked to see the important figures who are there to supervise the event. Everyone recognizes Soryu, the veteran Haitencho, and the legendary Izumi Mentu, a true gathering of legends. The announcer explains that in the second phase, they will fight beasts, and the points will vary with difficulty. The screen shows that beginner is worth 100 points, normal 500, hard 1000, and nightmare 5000. After each victory, they will have a 1-minute rest before moving on to the next difficulty. Gakuo says he's going straight to nightmare mode, and his level 13 stats are revealed on the screen. Our protagonist then raises his hand and says with a calm voice that he'd like to ask a question. The others mock him and say he was carried and is now scared of the individual fight. The announcer tells the young man to ask whatever he wants and that he can feel free to do so. Faced with the situation, our protagonist asks if the nightmare class is the highest difficulty of all. With a smile on his face, Shoheitan finds the boy's question quite bold and interesting at the same time. The other participants start mocking him and say a level 0 can't even handle beginner mode. The announcer explains that there is no upper limit, and that he'll understand when he faces a nightmare beast. Riku says it's useless to think about it, because nightmare is level 10, and they'd be lucky to beat hard. With that, the man reveals that the points from here will count for the main tournament and for joining the alliance. The group is shocked by the news, and Sayo realizes she'll need to use that to stand out. Our hero remembers Taiwajan's record of 115,000 points and decides he will surpass it. The announcer then tells everyone to enter the arena and prepare for the start of the combat. The second phase begins, and our protagonist comments that the place doesn't look much different from other stages. Suddenly 10 level 1 Calamity Hounds appear, and he gets excited to fight the beasts. He activates his black ice wall and says he'll finish it quickly since they don't increase his stats. In the control room, the announcer asks if Shu is monitoring him again, and he says he wanted to see the girl Hanyu. With a smile on his face, Shoheitan says our protagonist is much more interesting to watch. Shoheitan gets excited and says here he comes again, and the announcer wonders if he's always this surprised. With a single blow, our protagonist defeats all the hounds in 1 second and earns 100 points at once. The announcer is shocked because it usually takes a few minutes, and Shohiten says he told him the young man was interesting. He thinks that the hounds are level 1 and that the next enemy is level 8, so a single blow won't cut it. Soon after, the level 8 salamander appears and is worth a total of 500 kill points. The announcer thinks he'll struggle against a creature 8 levels above him, but Shohiten disagrees. He switches to the multi-screen, and Aja realizes her father wants to deliberately divert attention from our hero. The announcer notes that most participants are still fighting the beginner monsters. The scene shows Sayo and another guy fighting the creatures of the first wave without much apparent difficulty. The only one keeping pace with our protagonist is the green-haired girl, Hanyu Kana, who is very strong. Suddenly, Aja becomes desperate as it seems something very bad has happened to the young man in the arena. Our protagonist is completely engulfed by the salamander's flames, and the situation becomes very tense for him. The announcer wants to call the medical team, but Shohiten stops him and says to wait a little longer. But our hero protects himself with his black ice wall, and ice armor appears around him instantly. With his full armor, he charges forward and cuts the salamander in half with his sharp ice blade. The announcer is shocked because he took only 5 seconds and earned 500 points with the victory. With the creature's body on the ground, a screen confirms his time and the points he just acquired. The man wonders why he took the attack on purpose if he could have won instantly. The screen reveals that his defense increased by 10%, and he thinks he needs to use every chance to get stronger. His stats are shown and his defense now reaches 434, with a total of 1,395 points. Without wasting time, our protagonist skips the rest and prepares to test his defense again. The announcer comments that this difficulty tests the participants' speed and combat sense. With that, the next monster appears, and it's a level 10 electric rhino worth 1,000 kill points. Shohiten explains that if the horn hits you, your body is instantly pierced due to a lack of defense. And if not that, you're paralyzed by the lightning due to a lack of resistance and can't move. So, to beat the creature, you need to use speed to dodge an attack when it gets tired. But the announcer is shocked and wonders what our hero is planning to do with the creature. Faced with the situation, our protagonist approaches the creature and touches its horn with a chilling calmness. With a smile on his face, he says that horn is perfect for testing his defense again. From there, the electric rhino prepares to attack with full force, covered in a lightning aura. The creature charges with its lightning-covered horn, and our protagonist stands still in its path. The impact of the blow sends him flying, but a bluish aura protects him from any serious damage. In the control room, Aja screams his name, completely terrified by the scene that just happened. Shohiten comments with a smile that the boy's actions are completely unpredictable to him. But he adds that every time, the young man shows results that surpass any imagination. The screen reveals that he absorbed the skill, and his agility increased by 5% with Thunder Wave. With his eyes glowing red, our hero faces the creature and says it's time to settle this. From there, he activates his Thunder Wave, and his agility shoots up by 50% at once. The rhino gets furious with the young man's audacity and prepares to attack again with everything it has. Our protagonist then dodges the attack with absurd speed and passes by the creature. Without wasting time, he gets on the creature and finishes it with an ice blade, earning 1,000 points in 7 seconds. Shohiten says he was faster than him in his youth, and that he didn't even use his full power. The announcer then announces with a serious voice that the next creature is the one everyone fears. With swift movements and sharp claws, it tears its enemies to shreds in the blink of an eye. It also has a giant mouth that spits iron chains and swallows everything in its path. To top it off, it has a huge body covered in a tough exoskeleton armor. The announcer explains that because it has all this, it is the most powerful and ferocious beast in the preliminaries. The screen reveals the Purgatory Giant level 15, worth a total of 5,000 kill points. Without a second thought, our protagonist activates his true piercing sphere and launches the attack. The system confirms the monster's defeat, and the sphere's speed increases by 200%. In the control room, the announcer and Shohiten are completely shocked by the instant victory. The screen shows that the sphere's speed is now 9 meters per second, with an increase of 900%. They can't believe he took only 3 seconds, and our hero is already preparing for the next fight. The scene shifts to Riku, who is also fighting and facing a creature with powerful fire breath. Sayo activates her water bullet and says that if she defeats the remaining 2, she'll advance to the next class. Gaku will skip the rest, and is confident he'll be the first to reach the normal class of the tournament. A camera confirms that the Nightmare class was completed in 21 seconds, ranking him first. Hanyu has already cleared the normal class and is recovering her mana before the next battle. Sayo, Gaku, and Hana wonder who is faster than them, and the girl is sure it's Atsuki. Back in the arena, our protagonist faces the monster's body and says he'll move on. In the control room, the announcer can't believe he killed a level 15 giant with a single blow. With a wicked smile, Shoheiton orders the difficulty to be increased to see how far the boy can go. The screen announces Phase 2 with 2 giants, and our hero thinks they just increased the numbers. With that, the 2 gigantic creatures charge towards the young man with everything they have. Faced with the situation, our protagonist readies his sphere and says he'll take one of them down while they're screaming. The screen confirms one's defeat, and the sphere's speed increase, which now reaches 1100%. The announcer is shocked and wonders if that sphere has any kind of power limit, but Shoheiton explains that despite being powerful, the young man's ability has a fatal flaw. With that, the remaining giant charges with absurd speed towards our protagonist. He's surprised and realizes the creature's speed is greater than anyone he's ever faced. In the control room, the staff comments that giants are mistaken for being slow due to their size. He explains that, in fact, despite their size, they are the fast and agile type. The screen reveals they have no mana, but in return, all their other stats are much higher. Our protagonist then prepares another sphere to try and hit the creature before it's too late. The attack hits the monster head-on, and the screen shows its stats of 300 in agility and defense. But to his surprise, the giant dodges the sphere, and our protagonist is completely shocked. In the control room, they realize the sphere is slow and that the young man used the creature's roar to attack. So, if he doesn't increase the attack speed, he won't advance, and the monster attacks him with a punch. Our hero barely dodges, and the giant's blow creates several shockwaves on the arena floor. The impact of the punch is so strong that it kicks up a large cloud of dust and destroys everything around. Faced with the situation, he realizes the attack can be dodged and needs to change his tactics to win. Shoheiton thinks that if he continues using the skill knowing he'll miss, it's because he has no more tricks up his sleeve, but with a wicked smile, our hero says that since the creature is fast, he'll close the distance. From there, he activates his Thunder Wave and covers himself in lightning to increase his speed. The 2 charge at each other, and the giant prepares another devastating punch with all its might. The blow hits the ground and creates a crater, but our hero continues to advance amidst the chaos. In the control room, Ajiao is completely terrified by the scene and covers her mouth with her hand. The announcer panics and says the attack is too strong and orders the rescue team to be called. But Shoheiton stops him immediately and with a calm voice asks him to wait a little longer. He agrees that the giant's power is immense, but it seems he still has a plan in mind. After all, the giant's power means nothing if it can't hit its target. The monster then prepares to attack again and punches the ground with all its might once more. Suddenly, our protagonist taunts it and draws the creature's attention towards him. The giant turns and is completely shocked to see our hero right behind its head. With that, he launches his sphere up close, and the attack passes through the monster's head with full force. Covered in lightning and with a determined look, our protagonist faces the falling creature. The giant's body falls lifelessly to the ground, and a screen confirms our hero's victory. The sphere's speed increases to 1300%, and he earns 10,000 points in 12 seconds. In the control room, the announcer and Shoheiton observe the defeated monster's body in the arena. With a relieved smile, Ajiao celebrates and shouts the young man's name with great joy. The announcer comments that it's rare to see her so excited about something, and she turns bright red. Embarrassed, she says she was just praying for everyone's safety and it was no big deal. The announcer notes that she's become much more talkative since the last time they saw each other. Shoheiton then asks why the young man was dodging if he could have won right away. He explains that his normal speed isn't much different from a purgatory giant's, but when electricity starts coursing through his body, his speed increases dramatically. From there, there's no way a purgatory giant's attack can hit him. The announcer says that with his points, first place is guaranteed, but our hero doesn't stop. With a determined look, he thinks that to surpass the strongest, he can't stop for even a second. He then moves forward and prepares for the next phase, which is already starting right in front of him. The screen announces the 3rd phase with 3 giants, and our protagonist gets ready for combat. He activates his sphere and says the first one is already done for as he attacks one of the monsters with everything he has. Shoheiton comments that as expected, he chose to continue and that he's the guy he chose. He then remembers he went all the way to phase 4 at once, and the announcer is curious. The man says that even with his physique, the limit is phase 3 and wonders how Atsuki will fare. The remaining giant charges, and our protagonist prepares to dodge and counterattack. He dodges the punch, and the blow hits the ground hard, kicking up a lot of dust and rocks. With his Thunder Wave, he increases his agility, gets behind the creature, and closes the distance. The screen confirms the second monster's defeat, and the sphere's speed increases to 1700%. With a calm look, he turns and says that as for the third monster, it will be a different story. With that, the third giant opens its enormous mouth and tries to devour our protagonist with everything it has. The creature stares at the young man with its glowing red eyes and chains flying everywhere. Due to its gigantic body and tough armor, the monster seems like a very powerful enemy, but our hero says he'll tear it apart from the inside out and activates his Lotus Burst at maximum power. From there, he launches his fire attack with full force right at the giant's face without a second's hesitation. The skill explodes with great force, and the system confirms the defeat of the level 15 creature. In just 13 seconds, he earns another 15,000 points, and the screen shows his absurd new record. In the control room, the announcer is completely shocked, unable to believe what he just saw. Soon after, he recognizes the fire skill and says it was the same one that eliminated many in the first phase. With the attack, our protagonist spends all his mana, and his tank is completely empty in the process. But he knows that as long as the monsters keep appearing, his passive mana skill will recharge it all again. The screen announces Phase 4 with 4 giants, and his mana immediately rises to 124. Shoheitan hears that if the boy passes, he will surpass him, as only Jin Taiwa has come this far before. With a smile, he says he can't wait to see how far the young man will go as he moves swiftly. Our protagonist thinks that the faster the sphere gets, the greater its accuracy on the final target. He thinks that if he increases the speed a few more times, he'll be able to hit the creatures from a distance. But his mana is limited, and he can't waste a single shot of his piercing sphere. Suddenly, one of the giants roars and shoots several chains from its mouth towards the young man. Faced with the situation, our protagonist prepares his sphere, but the monster is faster than him. The boy is surprised, as he didn't expect the creature to be able to use chains. The chains bind him, and the giant slams him hard against the arena floor without mercy. The impact is very strong, and our hero is thrown to the ground with absurd force. Completely trapped, he realizes he can't move and is in a very bad position. From there, the giant crushes him with its gigantic hand to end it all at once. The pressure is so great that our protagonist's body begins to be completely crushed. The monster then steps back and observes the damage its final attack caused on the arena floor. Lying in the crater, our hero is badly injured, and it seems the fight is finally over for him. In the control room, the announcer panics and shouts for Shoheitan to go help the boy. With a worried look, Shoheitan wonders if this is really the end for our hero. He remembers his past and says the scene is exactly like what happened to him before. Shoheitan prepares to go, but the commander stops him, telling him to wait a little longer. With a calm look, Mendo Izumi says that our protagonist hasn't truly given up yet. The announcer panics and says that if they don't save him now, the boy will surely perish. But the commander assures him that he still has a card up his sleeve to turn the tables in his favor. The white-haired man asks how he knows, and the commander says it's in his eyes. The young man's eyes glow with determination, as he still hasn't accepted his end at all. With a blue aura around him, he activates Overmimesis and resumes the analysis he had paused. He remembers the fight with Rigi and the activation of the analysis on his Violet Thunder Cannon skill. The young man purposely stopped the analysis at 99% to use it in a moment like this. From there, the analysis reaches 100%, and a blue aura completely envelopes his body. The screen confirms the acquisition of Thunder Wave, and a blue lotus appears in the control room. The woman with glasses wonders if Aja knew about this, and Shoheitan is surprised by the scene. The screen reveals that the skill absorbs B-rank lightning attacks and increases agility by 100%. In addition, he gains 20 points in all stats and has his health and debuffs fully restored. With that, the blue lotus explodes, and our hero prepares to show everyone his new power. With his body covered in a blue aura, our hero says the warm-up is over, and the fight is about to begin. The announcer is shocked because his stats are absurd, and he healed faster than a healer. From there, he defeats 2 giants at once with his sphere, and the attack's speed increases. In 31 seconds, Phase 4 ends, and he earns 20,000 points with a confident look. With that, another giant is defeated, and the speed of his sphere continues to rise relentlessly. The screen reveals the speed is now 27 meters per second, with a bonus of 2,700%. Without giving them a chance, Phase 5 ends in 57 seconds, and he earns another 25,000 points. Soon after, Phase 6 also ends in 1 minute and 34 seconds, with another 30,000 points. In the control room, everyone is completely shocked and speechless at the scene they are witnessing. Sitting on a pile of bodies, he wonders if this is hell and who the real monster is. Lying on the ground, he wonders why the giants aren't appearing for the next phase anymore. The announcer says he never expected something like this, and is completely shocked by the situation. With a trembling hand, he prepares to press a large red button on the panel. Faced with the situation, the man says with a serious voice that the fight is over for our protagonist. Because of this, he reveals that the young man simply wiped out all the giants they had. The announcer shouts that he defeated all the purgatory giants they had prepared. Our protagonist is confused because he thought the difficulty had no defined upper limit. Standing on the bodies, he thinks the difference between him and Jin Taiwa can't be that big now. He also accomplished his goal of increasing the sphere's speed, and the screen confirms 12 kills. The sphere's speed is now 38 meters per second, faster than most cars. With a blue aura around him, our hero prepares for whatever comes with a determined look. The scene focuses on his eyes, which glow with a green light and show his great determination. Tired, he realizes he forgot something important because he expected more enemies to appear. A blue karma stone appears because he doesn't level up, and the experience turns into an item for him. In the control room, Shu Haitan is shocked because the stone is worth 10,000 points, and the commander explains why. Shu Haitan understands that his level is fixed, and that if he were a beast, it would be terrifying. Our protagonist picks up the stone and seems satisfied with the reward he just received. With his objective completed, he says it's time to leave and turns towards the exit. The large metal door of the arena begins to open slowly so he can finally leave. The announcer then informs everyone in the control room that our hero is leaving the arena. The screen confirms his victory with 106,600 points in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. The announcer praises him and says he's pure potential and offers to arrange an instructor for him. But our hero refuses the offer as he already has a teacher, and the man says he doesn't understand the situation. With that, Shu Haitan appears and tells the old man to stop bothering the young man who just wants to rest. Itsuki thanks him for taking care of Kinishida's henchmen, but the man says he only punished the rule breakers. He then reveals that since our hero is Mendo Izumi's student, there was no reason not to help. The announcer is shocked by the news, and our protagonist thanks him for his help in the arena. With a smile, Shu Haitan confirms the information while the commander watches from afar. Our hero then approaches and calls the commander sensei, leaving the announcer even more shocked. The woman with glasses congratulates him and asks if he's injured and offers to have Aja treat him. He says he has no injuries, but his stamina is low, and he'll recover with some rest. The announcer comments that it makes sense for him to go so far, and Shu Haitan remembers that the other student also did well. The man asks if Taewar reached Phase 6, but the announcer says the maximum was Phase 4. Shu Haitan tells them to just watch, as the second phase has begun for the other participants. Another participant completes the hard class and says nightmare mode is impossible for him now. Meanwhile, Sayo is fighting and thinks the next difficulty is impossible as she's running out of mana. In the room, the announcer says that Riku and Sayo stopped at the hard class, and Shu Haitan praises their effort. Our protagonist asks why they didn't leave, and the man says you can only leave in special cases. The scene shifts to Gakuo, who says with a smile that it seems others have reached the nightmare class as well. The announcer comments that with his rare artifact, Gakuo should be able to defeat at least one giant. He then praises the Shikigami user Shin Akagami for having come so far in the tournament alone. Her small creature then begins to transform and releases its true, complete, and terrifying form. The monster becomes gigantic and intimidating in front of the girl, showing everyone its absurd power. From there, it attacks with a powerful punch that demonstrates all its brute force in the arena. Ajiha explains that her Shikigamis don't change form and that those are full of mysteries. Our hero thinks of his wolf Mort and realizes that Shikigamis are very strong and that he has neglected him. Seeing that his friends have finished, he says there's no more reason to stay there and decides to leave. But as he was leaving, our protagonist notices something strange and is surprised by what he sees. He sees his partner Ibiri in red armor and with an incredible aura of power around him. The blonde reveals that it's the strongest epic armor his father, the Artisan King, has ever created. The screen reveals that the epic armor gives 100 points in attack and agility and increases every minute. Iberia says the artifact has a will of its own and chooses its master, and he struggled to get the item. But the young man knows that if he uses the armor for more than 15 minutes, he will suffer a penalty. With 1 minute of use, his stats have already increased by an extra 120 points in attack and agility. He thinks that the Nightmare class announcement was definitely Itsuki, and that he can't disappoint him. He then charges forward and shouts that together, they are the double-eyed duo and they are unbeatable. Our protagonist watches his partner with a smile and says he's looking great. Suddenly, a voice announces to everyone that the second phase of the tournament has finally ended for them. The announcer explains that only the top 10 advance and the first 2 receive a special reward. Lying on the ground, Gakuo is confident and says the special reward will definitely be his. With a serious look, the announcer says he will announce the top 10 qualifiers of the second phase. The screen reveals our hero in first place with over 100,000 points, leaving everyone behind. The others are shocked because Jin Taiwa only scored 60,000 and wonder how many giants he killed. Gakuo can't believe he came in third and wonders who the heck this Itsuki Tenma is. The green-haired girl, who came in second, says she would love to have a fight with our hero. Sayo is shocked by the power difference between them and wonders if she's really cut out for combat. Aja announces that the preliminaries are over and that our hero came in first in the entire country. She feels her father's happiness, who sees in the young man the new sun of humanity shining brighter than ever. Lying on the ground, Iberia celebrates and says with a smile that he already knew his partner would come in first. But he adds that he also did well enough not to embarrass the Doa's name. Our protagonist helps him up and says he did a good job and that he was quite surprised. With a funny face, the blonde young man is overjoyed with the compliment he just received from his friend. The announcer then officially declares that the preliminary event has finally come to an end. With that, our protagonist carries his tired partner on his back and takes him out of the arena. The scene then shifts to District 1 of the southern continent, where an old man with a white beard is meditating. A soldier complains about having to watch the old man meditate, and another tells him to shut up and show some respect. The man reveals that this is Bargar, the commander of the southern continent, and that he is a true prophet. The soldier questions why he doesn't predict where the monoliths will fall so they can prepare. The masked man explains that although he only foresees a part of the future, he is on the same level as Mendo Izumi. He then reveals that the accuracy rate of his prophecies is 100%, and the old man wakes up. His servants help him up, and he screams desperately that the northern continent is in danger. With a terrified look, he reveals that a massive beast attack will occur, with one above level 100. The scene then shifts to a tree with blue leaves swaying in the wind during a starry night. Back at the arena, the commander notes that our hero's total stats have finally surpassed 1500. He explains that normally awakened gain 50 stat points each time they level up. With that, he says that the 1500 points put him on the same level as a level 30 awakened. The commander adds that his agility and defense can increase infinitely with his skills, but his attack power is the only thing that can't be increased, and Rikyu shouts that the food is ready. Faced with the situation, our protagonist turns towards the voice with a surprised look on his face. Sayo and Riku appear, and the guy with glasses says he prepared a bunch of his favorite dishes for him. Our hero decides to put that aside and thinks he can get an attack skill with overmimesis. At the table, he comments that it's been a while since he ate Riku's cooking and seems very satisfied with the feast. Our protagonist then realizes his partner isn't there and asks the group about Iberia. Aja explains that she healed him, but he was exhausted from the armor, so he's still sleeping. Riku is shocked that a level 7 cleared the nightmare class that neither he nor Sayo could beat. Riku asks if it was his food that scared her, but the girl points behind him in fear. A shadow with a red eye appears behind the guy with glasses, who hasn't noticed the threat yet. Drooling, the dark figure says it wants food and seems too hungry to wait. Suddenly, the shadow, which was actually Iberia, lunges and throws itself at the table to devour all the food. Rikyu gets furious and complains about the scare and asks why the blonde is eating at their table. With the bowl completely empty, the blonde young man faces Rikyu and seems ready for a fight. The guy with glasses breaks into a sweat, scared, and asks if the boy really wants to fight him. But Iberia just smiles and says the food is delicious, with his face covered in crumbs. Riku brags and says his food restored the young man's energy, which is why he's feeling good. The blonde compliments the food and says Rikyu should become a chef, and he wonders if that's a compliment. Mendo Izumi then interrupts and says that since they want to be saviors, he has a question. In front of everyone, the commander then asks what is the one thing they fear most in the whole world. Rikyu says his dream is to be a savior to save money and travel the world, eating very well. So, his greatest fear is getting old because he wouldn't have stamina, and his sense of taste would become too dull. Just thinking about it gives the guy with glasses chills, and he despairs at the mere idea. Sayo says she was born into a family of doctors and was therefore raised in a hospital. Since she was little, she saw many people suffering from all kinds of illnesses, big and small. The scene shows a sick person on a stretcher with a very frightening appearance to the girl. With that, she ended up developing a trauma and now fears even a simple cold. Our protagonist understands that's why she ran away when he sneezed the other day. The scene shows the young man sneezing, and the girl getting scared and running away, afraid of his germs. Mendo Izumi explains that Awakened live twice as long and rarely get sick, so she's safe. The commander then turns to Iberia and asks for his turn to answer the question. The blonde says that before, he was afraid of not passing the preliminaries and not getting the artifact. But now, with a smile, he reveals that his greatest fear is not being able to fight alongside Itsuki. With that, Iberia turns and asks what our hero's greatest fear is, leaving him speechless. The others are curious because they can't imagine what the strongest young man would be afraid of. He reveals that after his parents passed away, he was very anxious about how he would survive. With that, he was overcome by negative feelings like anger, sadness, hunger, and helplessness. But everything changed when Sayo and Riku appeared and helped him overcome that difficult time. His friends ask if he has a cold and invite him to eat something tasty to cheer up. With tears in his eyes, our protagonist says their kindness pulled him out of that negative world. After that, he remembers meeting Commander Mendu Izumi Eija and even his partner Abiria. With a calm look, he feels he has finally gained true companions to fight by his side. He then adds that it actually feels more like his family has just grown. With a smile, he says it's been a long time since he felt this relief and wishes it would last forever. Faced with the situation, he reveals that more than anything, his greatest fear was living completely alone. Eija notices that his aura is gentle and calm, very different from the scary vibe from before. Iberia gets emotional and hugs him tightly, promising never to leave his side, not even for a step. The commander explains that the question was to see if they would have regrets, as that is forbidden. He adds that a passing without regrets is the ultimate goal of any and every savior. From there, the man tells them to finish eating and informs them that Sayo and Riku will return to the district tomorrow. The next morning, everyone says their goodbyes and promises to meet again at the Grand National Tournament. Our protagonist then jokes with the blonde and asks since when he became so close to Riku. He remembers wanting to ask Sayo something and decides to leave it for the main tournament. Our protagonist then sees Eija running towards him and wonders why she's in such a hurry. The girl runs hastily towards her father with a very worried expression on her face. She stops in front of the commander and reveals she has secret information from the southern continent for him. The woman explains that the information is of the highest level and can only be revealed to the strongest. But the commander tells her to tell him everything, as he completely trusts the two young men there. She then reveals Commander Barger's prophecy about a beast attack on the northern continent. Iberia questions if the prophecy is reliable, but the woman says Bargar is the most renowned prophet. The girl suggests they flee, but her father thinks the target of the attack is likely himself. With that, he concludes that if he stays there, he will serve as a perfect bait to attract the beasts. His daughter insists they leave, and our hero offers to fight if they need help. The commander says he has already decided and has a task for the young man, who is worried about his safety. He orders the two to protect Aiden, Iberia's father and the greatest artisan of all continents. The blonde young man is confused by the order, and our protagonist thinks his master wants to send him away. Soon after, the commander turns to his daughter and reveals he also has 3 requests for her. He tells her to announce the attack, evacuate the civilians, and prepare the strongest for the great battle to come. With his eyes glowing red, he orders Heighten to be called and says they will intercept the beasts there. Eija informs him that Heighten is already on his way, and her father tells her to get some rest now. The blue-haired woman just stares at her father with a very worried and thoughtful look on the situation. The commander asks if she's curious about why he sent Itsuki away. With a flushed face, she says that as expected, her father can see through everything she thinks. The man explains that if the young man fights, he will expose his cards and the beasts will hunt him relentlessly. He also reveals that the young man has no attack power, and that Aiden might have an artifact for him. With this item, our hero would become a perfect and complete awakened, with all his stats maxed out. The scene then shifts and several monoliths fall upon the northern continent, and the attack finally begins. Far away, the two are running, and Iberia says they still have 100 kilometers to go to reach his home. Faced with the situation, our protagonist gets worried and says they need to hurry to get there soon. Suddenly, the blonde young man shouts his partner's name and points at something with a look of astonishment. With a serious look, our hero turns in the direction Iberia is pointing to see what it is. With that, they see a monolith falling right in the middle of the city and realize the attack has already begun. The monolith then crashes to the ground, and a gigantic explosion illuminates the sky with great force. Our protagonist thinks that if the beasts appear now, civilian casualties will be catastrophic. The city's awakened notice the monolith and panic because the beasts have arrived much earlier. A barrier begins to form, and Iberia says that if they help the civilians, they'll be late for their mission. Itsuki knows the blonde is exhausted but didn't stop because of his father and thinks he would hate the idea of helping. Suddenly, a giant stone fist crashes to the ground with absurd force right near them. But Iberia points to the city and says they need to help because without a strong awakened, everyone will perish. With a smile, Iberia changes his plan and says they will first clear the city and then move on. From there, a level 21 fire golem appears and prepares for the upcoming combat. The Awakened think that with 3 level 15s and 1 level 16, they can beat the level 20 creature. One of the men then activates his rock shield and shouts for the others not to break formation in the fight. He prepares to hold off the attack and tells his companions to look for an opening to counterattack. but the golem launches a fire spike that passes through everyone with impressive speed at the same time. The man with the shield can barely hold back the blow and screams with all his might that it's impossible. The others panic because the guy with the highest defense was defeated instantly, and they don't know what to do. One of them shouts that fighting is suicide and that they need to run, but the golem attacks again without giving them a chance. The man with the headband says with a smile that the other guy is the one who needs to be careful. Suddenly, he is shocked to see a dark figure appearing right behind him out of nowhere to attack. Another guy begs for his life and launches his B-rank water cannon with everything he has. He wonders how he got caught but brags about being the natural enemy of fire beasts with his power. His companions watch from afar and suggest finishing off the creature to ensure victory in the fight. But the water elementalist tells everyone to stay away and says he'll finish the monster himself. Soon after, the fire golem revives, and the man is shocked while his friend shouts to kill it. From there, the creature launches a massive fire attack, and everyone thinks the fight is over for them. But a black ice structure appears and blocks the flames, and our hero appears right in the middle. Iberia tells them to relax and that they can leave everything to the powerful, double-eyed duo. Our protagonist tells his partner to evacuate the civilians, and the system confirms the defense increase. Iberia says they're not saviors yet, and one of the guys calls him arrogant for talking about Jin Taiwa. The blonde argues with the others, who say they didn't ask for help and were going to win anyway. One of the men then wonders if the ice armor our hero is wearing is some kind of artifact. With a serious look, our protagonist remembers something his master said before they left. The commander warns that his black sphere is powerful, but the casting time is too long to be useful. He then advises him to keep the ability as a trump card for decisive moments. Back in the fight, our hero realizes he can't use his sphere there, and the civilians get excited about his arrival. With that, he decides he'll have to crush the fire golem with his brute force to win the fight. From there, the young man charges and lands a powerful, lightning-covered kick right in the middle of the creature. The system confirms the activation of Thunder Wave, and he climbs onto the monster's head with great speed. Without wasting time, our protagonist discharges his energy and sends the golem flying with the impact. As the smoke clears, the fire creature is completely stunned by the blow it received. Covered in blue lightning, our hero prepares to attack again with everything he has stored up. He then lands a devastating punch on the monster's chest, and a large explosion occurs in the city. The civilians think the creature was already injured, and that the young man only won because of that and his age. The man who was fighting before is completely shocked and speechless at the scene he just saw. He can't believe a level 20. One golem couldn't even touch the young man and wonders who he is. After the dust settles, the awakened realizes the golem was defeated, but the boy has disappeared. He brags, saying the young man only won because they weakened the creature, but admits his speed was absurd. He thinks the young man's power rivals a level 30, but it wasn't enough to take down the golem instantly. The screen reveals his agility, defense, and magic stats with the bonuses from his active skills. Iberia comments on his partner's speed, and our protagonist says that without power, speed is nothing. With a determined look, he realizes he needs to increase his attack power somehow. The blonde is surprised because he never thought of that, but says there's a way to solve the situation. With an excited look, he asks if his partner really wants a way to increase his attack power. Iberia reveals that his father's warehouse is full of artifacts, and that he will definitely give him one. He starts imagining our hero in incredible armor and drools at the idea. With a funny face, our protagonist asks what he's imagining, and the blonde tells him to hurry up. With that, the young man picks up his tired partner and says that if he doesn't push himself, he can fight if needed. Our protagonist then carries him on his back and runs at high speed with him completely terrified. The scene then shifts to night in the forest, and the two arrive at their destination after a lot of running. Iberia stretches and complains that his arms almost fell off, but they finally made it home. Our protagonist asks why he lives so far away, and the blonde says his father prefers the quiet. He reveals that the place is full of traps, and our hero notices the mana traces with his sense. Iberia tells his partner to stay close so as not to activate the traps, but our hero thinks of using his sense. With a smug smile, the blonde young man celebrates because it's finally his turn to lead the way, but he gets too excited and ends up stepping on one of the well-hidden traps. Completely embarrassed, he admits he forgot about the trap, and our protagonist asks if this is really his house. Suddenly, the mana waves become much more intense, and the blonde young man says this is the worst trap. From there, an epic iron golem appears with 500 attack and 300 agility in front of him. Our protagonist is surprised because he didn't expect his old man to have even humanoid artifacts. Without wasting time, the golem charges forward and tries to hit the blonde young man with a very powerful punch. But our hero dodges the attack with absurd speed, and the blow only hits the forest floor. The impact of the punch is so strong that it creates a large crater in the ground and kicks up a lot of dust around. He realizes that even the artifact is stronger, but he can't destroy it because it protects Iberia's father. With that, the young man asks his partner if there's a way to stop this thing once and for all. The blonde explains that the golem's power source is the Karma Stone located right in the middle of its chest. Our hero activates his Thunder Wave and says that even though he's weaker, he's still much faster than the golem. With a lightning blade in hand, he charges and prepares to hit the creature's weak spot at once. With that, the iron golem tries to crush him with both arms, using all its strength. The creature's giant fist comes down with full force, but our hero remains still, not moving. With a swift movement, he rips the Karma Stone from the artifact's chest. From there, the iron golem deactivates instantly and stops moving completely. With the stone in hand, he wonders if that's enough, and a warrior's shadow appears behind him. Iberia gets desperate and shouts for someone named Jasuk to stop what he's doing immediately. A man in armor then appears out of nowhere and attacks our protagonist with his sword in an instant. Lying on the ground, our hero sees the surprised man, who wonders when he appeared there so quickly. The warrior introduces himself as Josuke Bokudo and says he thought they were just bandits. He wonders who the young man is, as he didn't feel his mana until the exact moment of the surprise attack. Our protagonist, on the other hand, thinks the man's sword simply vanished and is intrigued. Iberia introduces him as his partner, but Itsuki cuts him off and asks where his father is. Jasuk informs them that the master is in the back but tells them to be careful when approaching. He adds that the old man doesn't seem to be in a good mood, and the scene shows his angry face. The blonde young man runs to his father and shouts excitedly that he finally passed the preliminaries. With a smile, he says he cleared the nightmare class and wants his artifact as his father promised. But out of nowhere, the old artisan slaps his son across the face, leaving him completely shocked by the action. With his hand on his face, the blonde young man asks why the heck he got hit for no apparent reason by his father. His father then shouts angrily and tells him to return the dragon equipment he took without permission. The blonde defends himself, saying he only borrowed it, but the old man warns him of the item's consequences. Angrily, he says he'll never use an item made by him again and runs off, dropping his bag. The old artisan then turns to our protagonist and asks if he's Mendo Izumi's second student. Our hero introduces himself and explains that he was sent to protect him because of the prophecy of the attack. Aiden stares at him and wonders why the commander would choose a boy with such an ordinary appearance. Suddenly, the old artisan's expression changes completely, and he notices something very strange about the young man. With a shocked look, he asks if the young man's level is fixed, and his order breaker stats appear. The man then questions if he's using some artifact to fake his stats, but the young man denies it. He then understands the situation and says it's no wonder his master made that special request for him. The old man says the commander is good at business, and our hero says he was only sent to protect him. Aiden reveals that in exchange for protection, he must give an artifact to the young man, who refuses and says he will protect him. Aiden says he doesn't mind giving the item but wonders why his master chose a flawed product. He then shows a golden crystal that doubles attack power and has a 99% critical hit rate. But suddenly, the old artisan explains that a mysterious crack appeared in the middle of the artifact. Because of this, the item became the broken critical crystal, which increases attack by 10 times but has a 0 critical hit rate. Our hero understands that the item is useless to others because the critical rate resets upon leveling up. With that, he takes the broken crystal in his hands and prepares to finally equip the artifact. Aiden calls him special and says the item is perfect for someone who doesn't level up like him. By defeating beasts, his critical hit rate will reach 100%, and his attacks will be 10 times stronger. From there, he equips the item, and the system confirms the Iron Fist of Destruction with a 0% critical hit rate. Our protagonist realizes that the critical rate only increases if he defeats enemies with higher attack, which he finds difficult. The screen then confirms that the critical hit rate increases by 1% for each stronger enemy defeated. Aiden says the item suits him, and our hero thanks him because his low attack power was a problem. The old man says they both fight for humanity and wonders if the beasts already knew his location. Suddenly, a blade of air cuts through the forest and rushes towards them with absurd speed. Faced with the situation, our protagonist defends Jasuk from the attack with his arm without even moving. The impact throws Iberia back, and he wonders what the heck just happened. He is shocked to see a green barrier and wonders why it appeared in the middle of the forest. Aiden says only the commanders know his location and wonders if the monolith was a coincidence. Josuke warns that the beasts are coming, but our hero says they are already on their way. With his mana sense, he perceives something approaching at high speed towards them. Faced with the situation, he warns that there are 6 enemies but corrects himself immediately and says there are 8 in total. From there, several level 14-1 horned demons appear and prepare for battle. One of the creatures tries to attack our protagonist from behind, but he dodges with ease. He then activates his black ice wall and prepares for combat against the horde of monsters. Our hero thinks he can finish them all quickly with his Lotus Burst but hesitates. He knows Josuke can withstand the impact but fears for the safety of the other two who are hiding. Aiden and Iberia are in the cabin right behind, and the young man doesn't want to risk hurting them with his ability. He then prepares to fight them all at once with his black ice blades. With a determined look, he thinks that in the end, fighting alone is still the best option. Suddenly, he feels another mana wave, much more intense than the previous one, and becomes very alert. From there, a level 24-2 horned guardian demon appears in front of him. Far away, a demon lord says the first wave of slaves has been sent to the human world. Sitting on his throne, he wonders which of the 8 demon kings should command the main force. One of the demons reveals he has noticed an important person in the human world and orders them to be captured. Yamaraja, one of the 8 demon kings, asks if the capture mission will also be for one of them. But the demon lord says a king could destroy his eye and decides to send a general instead. With that, he gives command of the main force to the fearsome monkey, devouring demon. The creature is one of the 8 demon kings, and it seems he hasn't eaten a human in a long time.